Today, I am joined with Eric Magnus, who is a financial guru. I would call you a financial guru, Eric. You have been in finance for over 15 years, helping people plan their budget, their savings, and ultimately buying homes with their VA loan. Not only are you a wizard on the financial side, you're also a Marine veteran yourself who served 8 years, two PCSs, 6 deployments. That is a lot for a life of service, my friend. Thank you for your service and thank you for joining me today.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So, Eric, today we're going to talk about mastering building wealth with your BAH, how our military members are buying homes at multiple bases as the goal for retiring and creating a pension for themselves, and ultimately even the opportunity to pass those homes on to their kids. Can you kind of give me an idea of what this strategy looks like for you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I wanted to get across on this whole thing is, nobody told me shit when we were in the Marine Corps. When you're an E1 to an E5, you don't learn anything. You go out, you do the dumb shit, right? You go out and buy a 20% interest rate on a brand new vehicle that you want because now you got a little bit of money. You do this, you do that. You do everything that you're not supposed to do. What I want to get across is with the VA loan, it's probably the best, if not the biggest benefit that you get as a veteran or a service member. And it's essentially free money, right? And while you're in, the government gives you a basic housing allowance or BAH, right? Whether it's $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, it doesn't matter. That money is there to give to you for a house, a home. If you buy or if you go rent or you live in base housing, you don't get any of that, or it goes towards the rent, right? You might save a couple bucks when you rent and you can go buy something else. But if you buy a house, all that money can go towards your house. Okay. I did some numbers here. So I'm talking about Jacksonville, North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, my old stomping ground. So I have a little bit of numbers there. But the biggest thing is like as an E3, E4, E5, you get 1,500 bucks a month. The average mortgage in that area is 1,800 bucks a month. Why not let the government pay 90% of your mortgage? You come out of pocket a little bit. It's a lot easier when you're married and your wife works as well. So I understand, I'm talking to the single E3, E4, E5. They're like, dude, I'm broke. I get it. I was there. I was broke too. Like you don't make a shitload of money at all. But why not let them pay for that?
But if you can qualify for it, your buddies have to live somewhere anyway. Why not buy it and then rent out the other rooms to cover the mortgage?
100%. That is a huge thing that you can do. If you're a single enlisted person or even an officer, you buy a 3-bedroom house in Jacksonville and you rent the other 2 out to your buddies. They pay 500 bucks a month. Boom, there, your BAH is covering your mortgage. It's just when you're not married, you get a little bit less in BAH, so it's a lot harder to qualify. So I'm mainly, and I don't want to just exclude that whole group of people, but I'm mainly talking to married couples on getting those houses. And if you're going to live there, buy the house, have the government pay your mortgage for the next 4 years or 90% of your mortgage for the next 4 years. When you leave, you walk away with some money. Worst case scenario, your house doesn't appreciate at all, but you just had 4 years of paying down the principal. And now you've got $11, $12, $13,000 that you can sell the house, you can walk away and you can go buy the next house, or you can rent that house out and go to the next duty station and buy the next house, and so on and so forth, and keep doing that until you run out of your VA budget, which can be 2 or 3 houses down the line. And then next thing you know, when you're getting out, you have 2, 3 homes that you can either go back and sell and they've been paid on for the last 10, 15 years. And now you've got a decent amount of money in there and you're like, cool, I got a little stockpile. What a lot of veterans are doing and service members is they're getting out and they don't have a fucking clue what they're going to do. They have no idea what they're going to do. They're, well, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. It never works out half the time. And this way you're leaving, not only are you leaving, you have 3 income producing properties potentially. 2, 1, even 1 income producing property. If you're hurting, you don't have a lot of money saved up because you made the big mistakes. Now you can cash out on those homes and you've got a nice little nest egg to carry yourself onto the next career. That's what I want to dive into on all those things. I know I kind of just gave the whole picture, but we can get into more detail on each one, but that's essentially what I'd love to see these service members do, because you're taking advantage of money that's given to you for free and you're taking advantage of a benefit that you deserve, and it's going to build you wealth.
It's a powerful tactical strategy. When we had military families coming to San Diego, and mind you, the BAH is higher there, right? But you're looking at like $3,000 a month. The other way to look at this, guys, is like that's $36,000 a year into someone else's mortgage, right? You're there for 3 years. That's $99,000. right? That you're putting into someone else's mortgage that could be paying down your principal. And so sometimes there is that trade-off of, yeah, we're going to pay a little bit above what BAH covers, but ultimately I'm the one who's going to be able to reap the benefits when I move of hopefully that property appreciation going up, maybe renting it to another military family if it's not the right time to sell. Often we would talk to people about, is it the right time to buy? It's like, there's no wrong time to buy. There's only a wrong time to sell. So as long as the rent that someone else would pay you would cover your mortgage, you're good, and just let it ride. And so we would talk about different areas, how they appreciate in rent. And this is really where I know you have a partnership with a number of our PCS Pay It Forward ambassadors. You guys working as a team is so powerful, right? Because if someone buys a house with the goal of renting it, that ambassador can then help them understand like what the incoming market looks like and make sure that all the numbers kind of shake out and kind of reduce that risk for them as to holding on to it as a wealth building asset.
100%. Another thing that I see, and I like to get out there to a lot of people is, and I say this generation like I'm old, right? This new generation, I'm not that old, but I say it like it's the instant gratification generation. So nobody wants to work up to buying their dream home. They want their dream home right away. So I want to say this to all service members, and I say this to all veterans. If you're going to your first duty station and it's only you and your wife, or you, your wife, and maybe one baby, right? Now I can't say some people got 5 babies at this point in time. That's their, I get it. You need a bigger home. If it's just the 3 of you or just the 2 of you, nobody cares about the size of your house. Nobody gives a shit what your interest rate is. You do you, right? Don't worry about the allure of going and telling people I got a big house. Nobody cares. Buy the 2-bedroom house. Afford the 2-bedroom house. Walk away with money. Buy the 3-bedroom house. You do not need a 4 or 5-bedroom house if there's only 2 of you. And a lot of these people nowadays are like, well, there's no houses in the area. And I think Brittany and I had a conversation about this the other. We had a borrower. They were looking in the 250, 260 range, him and his wife. And there's like, there's just no houses we want. And I'm like, well, what are you looking for? Well, I want a 4-bedroom, 5 house, 2-3 acres. I was like, why? It's you and your wife. You're here for 4 years, max. If that, maybe 5 if they enlist, maybe 8 if they let you stay where you're at and you go to a different unit in that area. Who gives a shit if you have a 5-bedroom house? Buy the 2-bedroom house. Have your BAH cover 90% of your mortgage or all of your mortgage. And then upgrade when you go to the next house. When you have a kid, knock a kid out, not upgrade, get to the next house. And then when you go to the other one, upgrade, get to the next house. Or when you leave, cash in on all the shitty houses you bought. I don't want to say shitty, but all the, houses you didn't want, cash in, take that extra money, and then go buy the house that you want. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to build up to where they're at with the house. They just want their dream house right away.
I think it is about taking the more strategic approach, right? It's understanding that by buying the more affordable house that's in our budget, when we leave that house with the $30,000, potentially we can make an equity, right? That is the difference in the next property that makes it easier to buy the next house in budget. And so, looking for a house that's slightly undervalued, that maybe some, slight DIY work would increase the value of the home. Just things like replacing the flooring on the weekends, stuff like that, where our service members are super capable of either hiring someone to do that or doing it themselves. It can be a strategic approach versus saying, I want to start at the end, which you're right. It's difficult to start at the end. Most people, they have to start at the beginning and they have to trade up a couple times. But I think exactly what you just said, like looking at your houses as transitional, right? You're only going to be here for 3 to 4 years. Let's get you in a place that's safe. Let's get you in a place that's affordable. And so that way, the next place that you go, you upgrade your lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah, it's a transitional home. You're only there for a short time. And what you're trying to do is build wealth by buying the house, hoping it appreciates. I mean, what's the average appreciation? 3% in Jacksonville right now, year over year for these homes. Sometimes it's 5, 10, sometimes it's 2, 3. But even if it appreciates 3% for the next 4 years and you pay down the mortgage for the next 4 years, I mean, there's a potential you could walk away with 40, 50 grand just after 4 years on that house, just from appreciation and paying down the principal. So it's and that's the biggest thing that a lot of these service members and veterans are getting caught up on now is like, they want this beautiful, lovely house. And it's like, buy the house that needs to be repainted. Buy the house that needs to have the flooring redone. You're going to save money. You do not need a giant home where rooms are just going to sit empty and you're struggling to make that payment every month because you wanted the bigger home. Buy the home that covers your BAH.
Yeah, and that's what we don't want, right? Is for our military members to be house rich, cash poor, and then not have the financials to be able to meet kind of an emergency financial situation that happens because we don't know. Like life happens. And so I know you and I are on a mission to make sure every single military member knows you can use this loan multiple times. You can use this loan on multiple homes at the same time. How do you use the VA home loan to build a rental portfolio, which is really what you're talking about, to purchase multiple homes?
If you buy a VA home loan, your intent is to live in that home as your primary residence. Now, there is no standard amount of time that you have to live in that home, right? I've had people who bought the home with the complete intention of living there, and then the government decides to say, hey, guess what? You're going somewhere else, deal with it 6 months later. And now they're buying a home somewhere else 6 months later. So, and then you can rent that house out. So there is no determined amount of time, but you do have to purchase a VA loan considering it's your primary residence. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions in the VA world is, and there's so many people out there saying that it's not true, so I don't understand why there's people still thinking this. You can use your VA loan multiple times. You can use your VA loan for the rest of your life. As long as you've served 90 days consecutive active duty or 6 years in the reserves, and you don't screw up and not pay it off, you don't get a dishonorable discharge, you don't go to jail or extradite the country, or leave the country, all that bullshit, you can use the VA loan for the rest of your life. Okay. Each county area has a VA loan limit. Okay. So the VA is willing to lend you up to blank amount, which is usually about $806,500, right? If you buy one house and it's $250,000, essentially you have 600 something thousand dollars left to buy the next house. Then you buy another house that's 200 something thousand dollars. You can go to the third duty station and potentially buy another house that's $250,000. I've got some people in Maryland and Virginia where the VA loan limit up there is like $1.2 million house in California, and then they go out there and they got $700,000 to spend on a house in Virginia, which honestly is about the average home up there. It sucks, but it is, it is what it is. So you can use a VA loan multiple times. The best way to do this, right? Everyone's like, what's the calculation? How do I figure that out? Call a lender. Call a VA lender, somebody who actually knows how to do VA loans. There's a lot of big people out there that say they're veteran oriented. They've done 1 or 2 VA loans a year. They don't know shit about them. Call a VA lender and ask them, hey, listen, here's my current home. That lender will look up your certificate of eligibility, and within 10 to 15 minutes or less, they should be able to tell you exactly how much you have left to purchase another home. It's very simple, very easy. You'll never get screwed over that way.
So I think one of the scary things our military members have is they're like, okay, so I'm going on some website or I'm calling some person. I have to do this. They're going to pull my credit. This is, and it gets very scary for that first step because I don't know what I'm triggering. I don't know when I'm triggering. And so just to give you guys an idea, here at Pay It Forward, we focus on education and service first. And so we don't do like VA home loan eligibility checks. I mean, we can, but the first step is really a military home buying plan, which is essentially, what do I need to know, right? And so there is a form in our link in bio you can fill out. It's like 8 questions. It goes directly to our partners, just like Eric, who he's going to jump on a phone call with you. It doesn't trigger a credit report pull. It doesn't trigger anything. It's just really a conversation about, all right, we want to buy a home next year. We want to buy a home next 3 years. What do we need to do to put ourselves in a position to do that? Which should really be happening before anyone goes on one of those websites and just types in their information for pre-approval, which then pushes your information out to every flipping VA lender in the entire country because they just resell your information.
Do not do that. You will get 30 phone calls in one day and you will lose your damn mind. You'll turn your phone off and you'll just give up on the whole process. I promise you. Don't go to the websites where it says where you're looking to purchase a home and put your information in. Talk to your realtor. Talk to somebody that that's in the industry. They'll get you with somebody, or like Lauren said, go to our website and fill out a form and we'll give you a call and not get you hit.
I think you brought up something really powerful there. When people go from a base like Camp Lejeune and then they go to a base like Virginia, that's shocking to go from like, $250,000 homes, which for many of our service members feels very normal. That's kind of maybe a reflection of the type of areas that they grew up in. And then we go to Virginia where it's like, I'm looking at, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 price tags. And so we used to experience this in San Diego a lot. And the best way I described it to our military members was, look, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you buy a house? One mortgage payment at a time. And so the example you just used for Camp Lejeune is, guys, the same example I would use if you're going to Virginia. Don't think of it as, $1,500 a month in mortgage. The government is giving you $1,200, right? So that $300 gap, your mortgage is essentially the $300 above whatever your BAH is. And the same when you go to Virginia, you go to Hawaii, you go to California, where these houses are priced more. It's just what is the difference between what the government gives you and what you're going to be responsible for and budgeting to that. So you purchase a home the same way you eat an elephant. It is one bite at a time. So try not to get overwhelmed by those big numbers, because as you go to these bigger duty stations, those BAHs do reflect those higher cost of living areas.
Yeah, and one of the things I think that people are getting away from is the BAH is a basic housing allowance. Okay. And a lot of it, I did this. So I know for a fact it's happening. So I don't want anybody to say, oh, it doesn't happen. It happens all the damn time. I got married, I got BAH. I lived in a very small, shitty apartment in San Diego. I paid $1,200 a month, but my BAH was $2,200 a month. So I looked at it. I was like, yeah, I've got an extra $1,000 a month. I went and bought a motorcycle. You go and buy a newer car. You got those payments. A lot of people are doing that, and that's fine. You're buying depreciable assets with your BAH when you could be buying an appreciable asset like a home, which is going to build a like. And I get it. Most 22, 23, 24-year-old service members are like, whatever, dude. I want the Harley. I want the Corvette. I want this. I want that. I completely understand. I'm not going to argue with them about that. I did the same shit. Had somebody told me this, though, I would have bought a home earlier, and I'd be sitting a lot better than I am right now. And I think a lot of veterans will sit there and tell you that, like, yes, buy the home in the service, let the military pay for that home for minimum of 4 years, but maximum as long as you're in the military. Let them cover your house payment, get out, have that asset.
You see a lot of service members doing like the house hacking where they're buying at multiple bases with the goal of renting them out when they get out.
I'm seeing it more now, and it's because the internet's a lot more predominant than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. But it's a lot more education out there, like things like we're doing right now. We're educating people on how to do this. Unfortunately, I am seeing it in the higher enlisted and higher officer ranks. I'm seeing it in the E6, E7, E8s because they've been around the block. They know what's going on. They're like, all right, shit, I need to start doing this. I'm seeing it in the officers, the higher officers. They get paid a little bit more, so obviously it works for them. But, the O3s, the O4s, the O5s, they'll have multiple homes across multiple bases. And they have that mindset like, yeah, I'm going to buy a home regardless of what it looks like at every duty station. So when I get out, I have all these homes that I can either sell or continue to rent out and have a complete side hustle or have extra income versus the job that I'm going to get when I get out. So yes, I am seeing it a lot more now. Unfortunately, I'm seeing it a lot in the higher ranks and instead of the lower ranks. And what I'm trying to do is educate the lower ranks because they don't know. Nobody teaches you any of this shit when you go into the military. Nobody teaches you how to go buy a car. And a lot of these guys are buying their cars for the very first time. Nobody teaches you how to buy a house. A lot of these guys are buying the house for the first time. There's literally credit card companies that target bases just to give these guys credit cards because they know, one, the government's paying you every single month, no matter what. We know you're getting paid. And here, go buy a $1,000 TV on this credit card, and we're going to charge you 20% interest for the next 5 years. And that TV may cost you 10 grand.
Yeah, I think getting the education out earlier is really important. And then understanding how to budget to make it work for your personal situation. If you have someone who's newly enlisted, what advice would you give them when they're actually looking at the numbers on their paychecks, maybe like thresholds, like, hey, I would never go above this for this living amount. I would never go above this for a car. Do you have any kind of guidelines that you've developed?
It's all going to depend on the individual situation. If you have a credit score that's over 600 and you're getting a car with double-digit interest rates, you're getting screwed. Plain and simple. You should not be getting double-digit interest rates on a car. And I can't tell you how many kids I see come in and they're like, oh, yeah, 14% on my new Camaro is a deal. And I'm like, it's fucking not. The dealership screw you over. They're going to go in there and they're going to ask you a simple question. I sold cars for a year, so I know their tricks when I got out because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You go in there and they say, I want this monthly payment. They'll put you in that monthly payment, but you don't see all the shit in the back end where that monthly payment ends up, you pay it for 84 months and the car that you bought for 36 grand is now 40 grand and this and that. So always get advice from somebody, anybody, call your parents, talk to that staff NCO or higher ranking enlisted person and say, hey, listen, I'm going to go buy a car. Can you help me? I don't want to get screwed. Can you come in there with me? I did that for a lot of guys. They'd come in like, I want to buy a car. And I was like, cool. In my platoon, it was cool. You weren't allowed to go do that shit unless you talked to me because we didn't want these guys getting screwed. They come back and thought they got a deal. And it's like, nope, get back in your car. We're driving back to the dealership right now. And we're going to tell them, if you don't do this, we're going to make sure the base doesn't allow anybody to come here anymore and buy cars from you. And they learned, but there's not units that do that. They really don't give a shit. You're kind of there to fend for yourself financially when you first get into most military units. I hope it's getting better, but I haven't seen it.
So Eric, you helped one of our Pay It Forward members kind of came to you with their situation. They filled out the military home buying plan. They wanted to buy a house, I believe it was in North Carolina, and they were in one of these high interest loans in their car. And you had to like kind of rework their situation to make room in their budget to qualify for the house that they were looking for. Is that something you regularly do with service members?
All the time. So, when we pull your credit, when we look at your stuff, we see everything. We go over it with you. And if I see things that are out of the norm, I won't tell you what to do, but I'll give you advice. I'm like, hey, listen, you have an $1,100 a month car payment on a $36,000 loan on a Toyota Camry. What's going on here? What am I missing? Was this an $80,000 Toyota Camry and you've just been paying it down and now it's this? No, I got that 2 weeks ago at, blah, 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 Toyota, and the interest rates is, I was like, okay, let's go look at some credit unions or banks, or let's go look at some people who are more military friendly when it comes to vehicle loan options, right? I have a couple places, regardless of what base you're at. I have a couple places in each base that I can sit there and say, okay, call these people. So what they ended up doing was they called the bank. They were able to refinance their car down to like a 6% interest rate from a 24% interest rate, or whatever the hell it was. It was super high. It was almost to the limit for the state. It blew my mind. They got their payment down. They cut their payment in half almost, which then allowed them to qualify for another $100,000 of the loan. They ended up getting into a house. And it worked out great. And I can't say that's going to happen with everybody, but I can at least help you. And, I tell people straight up, if they're getting screwed or not on a thing, they don't like it sometimes, and that's fine, but I'm blatantly honest, and I'd rather be blatantly honest than just, don't say anything and they keep screwing themselves over. I've also had to turn down veterans that did qualify, and that sucks. But I'm not that type of person. They sit there and go, technically you qualify, but I'm telling you right now, you do not need to be buying a $300,000 house. Do I qualify? Yes, I qualify. Somebody else is going to do it. And somebody else can screw you over financially, because in a year you're not going to be able to afford this anymore.
There has to be some sort of trust, right? If you can't trust your team of professionals, right? Yourself, as well as maybe our Pay It Forward ambassador, to tell you, hey, I have concerns here. I have concerns that in this area, this house may not appreciate in the next 4 years, and you may be underwater. Are you willing to be a landlord? I have concerns here with everything that you have going on. We don't have a emergency cushion that we've built up, that we're kind of putting ourselves in a position where we may be in a negative financial spot if we buy this house right now. If you don't have that level of conversation with someone who is willing to lose your business, then you're probably not working with the right team. This is one of the reasons why I don't want people going on these random online websites. Believe you me, anyone will fucking sell you the VA home loan. That doesn't mean that you should use it. Me and Brad qualified for probably 3 times more than what we were comfortable buying in San Diego. And thank God I was in finance before I transitioned into real estate, and he was in finance before he came into the Navy. And we were like, who in their right mind would give us, these 2 kids with 1 baby, and he had just got back from his first deployment, like a $700,000 loan in San Diego? We had no business spending that amount, but we qualified for it, and we certainly would have, and that company would have easily signed off on it and then went their merry way. You have to have a team that's willing to advocate for you, because to give that advice is priceless. To say, hey, given your situation, I would wait a year. Or given your situation, we need to look at refinancing these things or paying down this debt before you buy a house, because I don't want to see your family be negatively impacted. You have to have someone who's on your side.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we do. I will tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. And if it loses me business, I don't care. But I'm going to tell you the facts. Most people don't like the facts, and they go with the person that's going to be like, oh yeah, we can do that for you. We can do that for you.
And we'll definitely refi you in 2 years. They qualify for the full amount, just like me and Brad could qualify for $700,000. But that doesn't mean that I can comfortably make that payment and keep up with other areas of my lifestyle, like, I don't know, feeding my family.
Yeah, which is kind of a big deal.
A little important. It's helpful to stay alive. So what is the first step for someone who wants to buy their first home with their BH?
So I'm going to catch a lot of shit for this too, okay? Because everyone's going to tell you to find a realtor first. That's fine. That is one step you can go. I personally have a little bias on this. Talk to a lender first. Ask somebody who they used. But if you find a realtor, so the best thing is, I guess, like the program that we have is probably one of the best things, right? You get into the PCS Pay It Forward, Camp Lejeune, or PCS Pay It Forward, Fort Hood, or whatever base you're at. There's going to be a website that you can go to and just ask around, hey, who does everyone recommend? I have a few that I could recommend, but I'm not going to say names out there. But yes, get with them. They'll say, okay, talk to this person. Any good realtor, okay, is going to tell you to call a lender and get pre-approved before you go look at homes. If your realtor doesn't tell you that, they are not a good realtor and you need to find somebody else. Okay. And here's why. Everyone's like, no, I know what my budget is. Like you're saying, I know 700, this and that. That's great. I can't tell you how many people come to me and they say, hey, Eric, we know we qualify for 500. We want to be at the $500,000, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Come to find out they qualify for 3. But they already had their heart set because the realtor took them to a $500,000 house without getting pre-qualified. They fell in love with it. It's their dream home. They want to buy it. The wife is crying in the background. Oh, it's our best house we're ever going to have. Cool, guys. That's great. You qualify for 3. That 5 is out of your price range. You can't afford it. I don't even know where you were getting off looking at that. Well, Zillow said, Zillow's full of shit. Their calculator on there is full of shit. It lies to you. If you ever go off a Zillow calculator, you are already not doing anything right. It is the worst thing ever. And I can't tell you how many people's hearts have been broken over that. And I don't care if I get in trouble for that. I'm blatantly honest about it.
Let me double down on the Zillow calculator being trash, because multiple times in the last decade, even after being licensed in real estate, being exposed to the real estate side and the mortgage side, I play around with that calculator and I get to a number. I'm like, yeah, you can't trust this. I do it regularly, Eric. And like, I have you that I can call, right? And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's bullshit.
It's just, they put in unrealistic parameters in there.
It's a lead generation tool, guys. It is a lead generation tool for a real estate and mortgage company. Zillow gets your information. They sell it to lenders for a dollar amount for your lead. They get your information. They sell it to realtors for 35%. So they're giving you what you want to see to opt in so they can resell your information. It's the number one biggest pipeline of revenue for Zillow.
Yeah. Now, as much as I'd love you all to come to me and do it, talk to a lender that you trust, have them run the numbers for you, and then they will give you the no shit numbers. They'll say, hey, listen, this is what it's going to cost you monthly with taxes, insurance, and your current interest rate. This is your total monthly payment on this home. Now, a lot of the times what I do is people get qualified and I say, hey, you're qualified for blank. And it could be, $800,000. They go, fantastic. Then I come back and say one more thing. And if your lender's not asking you this, you're already going down the wrong path. What is your monthly payment that you are comfortable with? And if you don't have one, let's create a quick budget and tell you what a good monthly payment is. Most people already have a monthly payment in mind. I don't want my payment to be more than $2,500 a month. Fantastic. Now that I know that, I'm going to go back and tell them, do not look at houses over 300,000. Don't look at 350. Don't look at 360. That is going to be over your monthly budget. If you want to stay at $2,500 a month, you look at this amount and under. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's 300. I'm just throwing a number out there, but you're going to stay in this budget and you're not looking at a house over this. I can't tell you, even after saying that straight to people's faces, how many times they come back and be like, what about 350? It's like, okay, 350 is this. It is not in your monthly budget. Don't look at it. If you want to stay in a monthly budget and a lender tells you what houses not to look at, don't go and look at those. That hurt feelings. That's all it is. Hurt feelings is all you're going to get if you look at a house higher than what you want, because it's going to be over your budget.
If I'm a service member and I think that I have bad credit, right? What do I need to know about my credit score when looking to buy my first home with my BH?
Good question. Happens a lot. Now, this is a huge controversy. I would say controversy, but it's a very big conversation starter in the mortgage world, the real estate world, the veteran world, the service member world. Technically, the VA itself has no minimum credit score requirement. Okay. Now, every single lender, for the most part, is going to have an overlay on top of the VA's requirements telling you what their credit score medium. Our company personally will go all the way down to a 540. Oh, Eric, well, why 540? This other company goes down to a 40. My company has made the decision that you probably shouldn't be buying a house if your credit score is under a 540, because there's a reason. Now, there is exceptions to the rule. If you just don't have credit, if there's a situation, we'll look at all that stuff and we'll judge it accordingly. But our basic rule of thumb is 540. Other companies are 620, other companies are this or that. It doesn't matter. If you're under a 540, you probably need to get your credit in a better position anyways before you buy a home. I'm just being honest with you. Your interest rate's going to be a lot higher. There might be a down payment. There might be extra cash you have to come in with. It's probably, unless you absolutely have to, it's probably not the best time financially for you to be buying a credit.
How long does it take someone to repair their credit from below 540? Let's say if I'm hearing these numbers, I'm like, okay, I got to get my credit score up 100 points, right? What's the fastest that you've seen someone do that? And
2 weeks.
How? 2 weeks? How?
So it's a trick question again. And I am not, full disclosure, I am not a credit specialist. I've been doing this for 15 years and work with credit scores. So I have an idea of what needs to be done, but I am not a credit specialist.
Please
We
call
have an
Eric
awesome,
first before you go to a credit specialist who's going to sell you a program that you can't afford for $50 a month to fix your credit, okay? Dear, get people to come back to us who are like, well, I signed up for this credit repair program for $50 a month and it hasn't done anything for 12 months. So before you sign up for that, please do a military home buying plan. And our team will tell you, this is what's happening with your credit. This is who I recommend. There are free services and resources to help repair your credit. You don't have to necessarily pay a monthly fee. So let me ask this.
yes.
So if someone's looking to
How
repair
you
your
repair your
credit,
credit. Someone comes to me and they have a low credit score. I say, okay, listen, you still qualified, but you qualify for a higher interest rate, or you have to buy your interest rate down or whatever. It's going to cost you more money because your credit score is low. And then we have a special program called a credit.
the lower the credit score, guys, the higher
The
the interest
higher
rate,
the interest
which
rate
means that
and
your
the
monthly
more,
payment could go above that BAH that we're talking about. So what Eric's saying is says if we increase our credit score, it lowers the interest rate a little bit and it gets that payment back down below that BAH level, making it much more affordable to buy.
absolutely. Now, as far as people come in, we'll look at their credit and we'll say, okay, I've noticed some things here. I've noticed some things here, and we'll kind of give them a basic understanding of their credit if they don't understand it, what they're paying. We always go over everything with you that is on your credit. Some people are like, oh, I didn't know I had that, or my ex-wife had that and she's still using it. I need to get her off, or this and that, right? But we have something called a rapid rescore, and I just did this a little bit ago. And what they did was they had a very low credit score; they didn't qualify. We have a rapid rescore program where we run it through our system, and the system says if you do this, this, and this, aka meaning if you pay this down, pay this off, or pay this down to this, you give it back to us. I give you the sheet. It says, okay, pay this down, pay this down, pay this off with your own money. We're not charging you anything for the service. It's your own money that you're using to pay down your own debt, right? And you get all those things back to us. I can send it back to that company, which will then in turn go back to the credit companies and update your scores. And within 2 weeks, your score could potentially be 20, 40, 100 points higher than it was. And now you qualify again when you didn't qualify, or now you qualify for a whole better rate, or it puts you into a whole different program. So we can't do that. I can't promise that it's going to work for everyone. You have to have some money saved up in order to pay down your own debt or pay off your own debt when we ask you to. But yes, potentially, theoretically, it's actually been proven. You can get your credit score updated in as little as 2 weeks. Most of the time, on average, it's going to take anywhere from 1 to 2 months for these people to get their credit up because, hey, I got to save up a little bit to buy that down, or I'll do this card this week and I'll do the next card next week on my paycheck, so on and so forth. So yes, as little as 2 weeks, as long as a year, it could take to build your credit up, but we will work with you to build your credit up. If you go to another lender and they stop calling you because your credit score is low, give me a call. If someone says you can't buy a home because your credit score is still low, give me a call. You would be surprised how often I get calls saying, I don't think I can afford a home. And then next thing you know, they qualify for $300,000. And they're like, oh my God, that's insane.
I think this is really powerful too, because we have a lot of people who get orders 6 months out, right? And maybe they wait until the 3 month mark before they start like tapping into resources and looking for homes. I want to recommend tapping in sooner. As soon as you get orders, either find your local PCS Pay It Forward community, doing the military home buying plan, even if you're just looking to rent and you're just trying to keep your options open, right? Because identifying this early and having a plan in place early is what gives military members options. And so less time creates more urgency, and we have less options to be able to help you get a house that you can afford, whether that's buying or renting. But improving your credit score is going to give you better options in both. And so if you're someone that's like, this is something I'm struggling with, I need to tap into this resource, do the military home buying plan, guys. Our team will walk you through what it is. Like I said, this is a 6 month plan to buy, a 1 year plan to buy, a 2 year plan to buy. That's fine. No one's here to pressure you or stress you out about getting you to buy a home, but it really is about getting your financial picture and foundation built properly, which is what we're really talking about here.
The minute you know you're going to get orders and you know that you're going to buy a house at the next station, call me. 6 months out is a perfect time to get pre-qualified, because if there's something wrong or you can't, it gives you plenty of time to fix it and correct it before you get here. Another good thing that people don't know about mortgages in that industry is the month that you close in, you have no payment. The month immediately after the month you close, you have no payment. And then it's the following month where you have a payment. So if you close in December You have no payment in December. You have no payment in January. Your first payment's not due until February. Now, why I say that is a lot of families were, I'm going to wait till I get there. When you get here, the houses may be, the market may be shittier than it is now, or it may not be open, or you may not have the house you want. I have plenty of families who buy homes without even being at the station yet. So when they get there, they have a home to move into. They don't have to go move into shitty base housing or rent a place or live in an apartment for a couple months or hotel or whatnot until they find a house. The minute you know you're getting orders, it's the perfect time to start getting pre-qualified for everything. Doesn't mean you have to do anything with it, but at least you know I'm good to go. I know I'm good to go at 300. There's no guessing in it. Or, oh shit, my credit's messed up. I got to fix it. Okay, we have 6 months to get there and we can still buy a house on time.
And I think that's really powerful because as PCS Pay It Forward, we are one of the only programs, and definitely the original program, who specializes in active duty military relocation, right? And so that means that all of our ambassadors are using virtual house hunting, which means that our lending partners like Eric are using virtual closings. And so it is possible to view and do house hunting, get pre-approved and close on a home and do a door-to-door move and not waste 2 to 3 weeks in a hotel. You can actually get your kids registered for schools because you have a permanent address. Household goods can go direct. And I was talking to Caitlin Hooper this week, and she was saying,
I was just going to mention that.
how so many people are getting there and then be like, we're ready to start house hunting. And she had like a second grader who was out of school for 3 weeks because they didn't have an address. And I'm like, I've existed in this pay it forward community for so long that I'm like, our fundamental value is we want you to do a door-to-door move, whether that's a rental or whether that's a purchase. No one should be living in Airbnbs. No one should be living in hotels. No one should be living in Navy Lodge, because we have built the system where you don't have to. And then you can keep that extra money. Your kids have an easier transition. You never have to put your household goods in storage. And so please, guys, tap in, do your PCS plan, do your military home buying plan. None of these things cost anything, but what you are costing yourself is stress and anxiety and money by just not doing them soon enough. Just do it sooner to get the information so you can make the best decisions for you and your family. That's all we're here to help you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we closed 3 people this month alone that are still in Japan that'll be out here next month. And they're moving door to door. They don't have to worry about moving. All their shit can be shipped straight to their house. They don't have to worry about it.
They know what schools they're going to. They're starting to look into baseball teams already to try out for. They're picking out churches. They're going, they're in the Facebook groups already for their neighborhoods, making friends. Like, hey, we get there in December and I have an 8-year-old. Does anyone else have an 8-year-old? Guys, it's just, look, right now, the military does not have a great quality of life. Every single survey that they do, it comes back and that's what it says, right? Is that our spouses are lonely, they don't have jobs, our kids are struggling, the pay isn't keeping up. These are the resources we've created to make this life easier, to help you get connected more quickly, so that way you can actually enjoy the adventure versus having it stifle you and your family. So please tap in, because we are here to help. So, Eric, thank you so much for joining me. I feel like this is a really powerful episode. I think it's going to help so many people. I think you're going to get a lot of emails, which I will put your email in the show notes, about interest rates on cars.
There you
but
go.
We hope to have you back regularly on the podcast here to just, make sure that our military families are planning their financial lives fundamentally, to make sure that they know the resources available to them, to make sure that they're tapping into these strategies earlier on in their military career, so that way the benefits just get greater year after year. So thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.